What's up everybody, my name is Vincent. Welcome to Cryptolution, where we talk about everything under the moon in the crypto universe. Today's Monday, November 17th. Now, in today's dog video, we're going to be answering the question, is dog going to be listed on the Gemini exchange? Now, there have been a few hints and clues from one of their team members that potentially that dog spot listing could be nearing pretty soon. But I want to share with you all the different points and clues that kind of hinted to this very moment. And then you can decide at the very end of the video and determine how you feel if this is going to happen sooner rather than later. And then obviously we're going to look into the macro market. What's going on in cryptocurrency? Who's buying Bitcoin while people are selling Bitcoin? And what does that mean for every other altcoin? Well, I will share with you all that in this video. So smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X. Please be careful with any of the scammers down in the comments below. I will never reach out via WhatsApp, Telegram, direct messaging, or email. So please be careful and invest safely. Guys and girls, let's get right into it. Okay, so right now, Dog is at 130 million market cap. It has been trading sideways for over 24 hours. Now, obviously, the reason why Dog is dipping is because we have the big honcho cryptocurrency Bitcoin also taking a dip as well. And as you can see, it's down 92,700 at the time of this recording. Now, you must be wondering, why is Bitcoin doing this? Because right now we're still seeing that in the month of November, we're down 14%. That's pretty massive compared to the all-time high of Bitcoin at 124,000 in October. Is there going to be more red coming in December? I will share with you my thoughts on that in just a little bit too. When we look at the meme coin market sector, you can see that everything is in red. Now, I am paying attention to another thing. Even though Dog is right here at ranking 245, this actually, by the way, changes a lot. If this were to go to 140 million, we'd be in the top 200. But as you can see, Dog is right behind ModCoin, and Dog has flipped ModCoin recently. And if you think about it, ModCoin actually has an ETF with a hedge fund called Canary Funds or Canary Capital. And even with that announcement, they still cannot surpass Dog by multi-millions of dollars. Those are still just kind of hovering around the $130 million range. And the reason I bring that up to you is because that's how important decentralization and community is. ModCoin does have a community, but it's mainly artificially pumped by market makers, and also ModCoin has multiple tier 1 exchanges while Dog only has one. Just think about that. That's how strong Dog is. Now, in terms of the fear and greed index, we actually just saw that the extreme fear jumped from around level 10 to now 14. So I guess people aren't as fearful, but this still is a great sign that we are in extreme fear, which is a good reset. We need this hard reset. We need people to be fearful in order for the next leg up. Now, I want to pay attention to a chart that I actually love by Crypto Banter. This is called the bull market correction drawdowns. Now, if you've noticed, every single time that we have massive drawdowns, you see the price of Bitcoin going up. So look at this drawdown right here. So this recent drawdown that we saw back in around 2023, we saw Bitcoin's price go up. And then we saw more drawdowns every single time it dipped the price of Bitcoin, and we kept going up. Same thing here, massive drawdowns with Bitcoin's price, aka liquidations. And as you can see, it did affect Bitcoin for almost close to a few months. And what that did was it kept Bitcoin consolidating. But nonetheless, we saw Bitcoin's price going up. Then we saw even major liquidations and drawdowns. And yet when we saw that dip in Bitcoin's price, Bitcoin still decided to go up. Now you're seeing the exact same thing, these major drawdowns. And this could be a sign that Bitcoin's going to go back up again just because of what we're seeing. But you know what's really interesting is this specific chart. Now these are stable coins. This is USDC, USDT, every other stable coin. This is all the stable coins on Ethereum. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because we're reaching new record highs. So roughly, just a couple days ago, we had $73 billion of stable coins. So this is the largest that we've seen in many, many years. Now, let me go over the past, say, week or so, or actually past month. You've actually seen that we hit around $73 billion, and then now we're reducing that amount of stablecoin within that reserve. So that means people are actually using those stablecoins to buy back into certain assets. So the reason I point this out is because people have stablecoins on the side for a reason. It's because they have that on the side to buy dips because they're ready to deploy capital when the time does come around. And the fact that this is happening right now, I could expect that when the time comes around that people are going to get in FOMO into Bitcoin and every other asset, these stablecoin reserves are going to drop significantly because they're being deployed into Bitcoin. Here's another catalyst event that I actually want to talk to you about, okay? So this is the rate cut that's happening in December 10th. Now it has fallen. A 25 basis point rate cut has fallen to 39%. This used to be at like around 73 to even 75%. That was for sure leading to a 25 basis point rate cut. Because if you think about it, People in the crypto market, especially leverage traders, are looking at the price of Bitcoin going down. They're seeing that there's possibly no rate cut happening in December. So they're all most likely going to short Bitcoin and every other cryptocurrency. Now, lately, when we had two different rate cuts in the past from October and September, all these different events, we've actually had many bullish catalyst events that should be sending Bitcoin's price going up. But because everybody has this belief like, oh, this is so positive for crypto, people place long positions. And that's why we saw back on October 10th, the largest liquidation event ever, because everybody was so super bullish. Now, for the very first time, people are feeling very bearish on the crypto price, on Bitcoin, no rate cuts. Quantitative tightening, even though it should be good news, instead of quantitative easing should be good news, people within the crypto atmosphere believe that Bitcoin's price is going down, so everybody's going to short Bitcoin. So what do you think happens when everybody shorts Bitcoin? There's eventually going to be a short squeeze, which eventually means that all the short traders are going to get liquidated, and then you start to see all the prices of all your favorite assets, especially Bitcoin for that matter, reverse to the upside sharply, and that's when FOMO kicks in. So this is why you're seeing like Grant Cardone buy roughly around 888 Bitcoin worth yesterday. That's a lot of money. And then just this morning, we just found out that Michael Saylor bought roughly around 8,178 Bitcoin for 835 million US dollars. They're buying the dip. Now let's talk about dog strategic treasuries. So you already know that C2 blockchain has been accumulating as much dog as they can during this depths. Their goal is to reach a billion dog. A billion, by the way. So just recently, they acquired roughly around maybe 50 plus million dog tokens just in this recent dip. So this is how smart money works and also how the 1% work. But just doesn't stop there, because it isn't just C2 blockchain. As we mentioned before, Sats Terminal started a dog strategic reserve, and now we have some new news regarding dog and Bitcoin doing the exact same thing. So remember, the founder of Sats Terminal did announce that there's going to be a dog strategic reserve using the fees, 100% of the fees for any dog swap. If you're selling or buying or whatever, all those fees, instead of sitting idle, they're actually going to go into their dog strategic treasury. But also, the second month that they are doing this deal, they're going to do 50% of those proceeds. So 100% the first month, and then the second month is going to be 50% of those fees going into the dog strategic reserve. So that's amazing. Shout out to Sats Terminal. But also some other great news. Dog of Bitcoin, since they have a new ticker handle, since their old one was shut down by some godforsaken reason. But guess what? They also are going to start a dog strategic reserve, but they haven't released this news yet, but it's in the works, and apparently it's going to melt faces. So I can't wait for this. We do have 3 companies already doing this. This is just the beginning, and it just goes to show that dog is no different from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a store of value, while dog is the #1 meme coin asset class across all chains, and it's set supply. There is no inflationary tokenomics to it. It's set to 100 billion. Now let's talk about Gemini, the reason why you're watching this video. So I want you to pay attention to one thing. Ever since September 25th, you actually have started to notice the increase of engagement and interactions with dog community pushing for a Gemini listing on X. So we did see sharp increases, and then we saw a slight decrease, and then all of a sudden a renewed interest, and it's actually increased by a new all-time high of total interactions. So why is that? Well, let's go into the past. Let's go back on September 25th. Now remember, on September 25th, Arjun Sethi spoke to one of the Winklevoss twins, which is the founders and brothers of Gemini, aka the former people that made Facebook. And in that comment, I typed in Arjun Sethi, let's bring dog to Gemini. And then Arjun Sethi CC Tyler, one of the founders. So this is where it all started. And then remember, we had the Gemini account do a little competition where somebody who had the most likes or reposts or comments within their own comment would be selected to be featured on their TikTok videos. And you saw that Austin Oaks, who we did an interview with, did his little dog video, and that garnered a lot of engagement. So the publicity team and marketing team saw that amount of engagement, and they decided to do a little skit. So this little thing came up. Remember, this was September 30th, just shortly after that post, where they said that they were going to fire an employee because they were not allowed to talk about dog in order to maintain the highest level of integrity. And as they mentioned before, this was just a gag. It was just a huge joke, and people took it seriously, but it was absolutely awesome. So they absolutely trolled us. But it didn't just stop there, because they saw the strength of the dog army. So something I want to point out is what Dan said. He said, I can't help but think that Arjun Sethi has something to do with Gemini getting ready to join the dog army. And he doesn't say complete speculation, but I definitely think the reason why Gemini paid attention to the dog army was because not only us, but maybe Arjun Sethi had some influence in it. And then we decided, you know what, let's just submit an application publicly so that everybody can see out loud that we submitted dog to their listing application program. So we created that video. If you haven't seen it already, I'll post a link on the upper hand side on YouTube. You may not see it on X, but we did submit that on October 2nd, which was on my birthday. Then on October 8th, I said, do you want Gemini to say dog? And Gemini responded on that same day, don't forget to have fun. And in there, it has the D, the O, and the G. So they couldn't technically say it, but they were still interacting with the dog community. Remember, most exchanges do not do this. Have you seen Coinbase do this? Have you seen OKX do this? Have you seen Bybit do this? No. The last time we saw people do something like this, any exchange, it was Kraken because it was leading to something. And then on October 20th, remember, I said I want to buy dog on Gemini. And then 18 minutes later, Gemini said, same to be honest. And then they removed this specific post. Now, fast forward on October 21st. Remember, Gemini and Solana held a fundraiser and charity for St. Jude's Hospital. Leonidas and myself joined Austin Oaks and also Jeremy during that live stream, and many of you participated in it. And I just want to thank everybody who donated to this specific cause, because you help fight cancer and help kids to fight cancer who can't afford it. So thank you for the Dog Army for doing that. But they noticed it, right? Gemini noticed how organic and real the dog community is. Even I donated to the specific cause, and we saw that even St. Jude said big thanks to the Dog Army, and we saw that Gemini said crypto for good. So obviously, Gemini knows that we serve a positive cause. And then out of left field, right, one of the things that Giovanni, who is part of the Gemini team, said that if the Dog Army is to raise more than $1,000 for the St. Jude Hospital charity, that he would buy dog himself. And he did. He bought dog after that, and now he's a dog holder. This is a Gemini employee buying dog on a different exchange, which I'm not going to share with you right now. Okay, let's fast forward just a little bit more. So this is November 5th, this month of 2025, where Vito, the creator of Dog of Bitcoin, the dog plushies, and the dog swap tool, sent a dog plushie to Austin Oaks, and he received it in his mailbox. So he said, a dog dropped me off at the package today. Don't worry, I'm gonna come back to this in a little bit because it's very important. Now, just recently on November 10th, okay, today is November 17th, I still said, still waiting for Gemini to say dog. And then they replied shortly after the dog and then the eye emoji. Now, could you call this engagement farming? Maybe. But the fact is, Gemini is still interacting with the dog army. They don't have to do this. Most times when there are exchanges that are engagement farming, they engagement farm and then they forget about the community and then they don't talk to you guys at all. We've seen this happen multiple times, especially with OKX. But Gemini is still interacting with the dog army. Why? It's because they want to keep your eyes paying attention to their exchange. They don't want you slipping, thinking that they haven't forgotten about you. So here's something that I want to share with you, which is this specific image by Austin Oaks. So on November 13th, just 3 days later, you saw that Austin Oaks posted this specific dog plushie picture, which features dog behind a monitor. Now, I saw that some people were in the comments saying, why is the dog behind the monitor? You know, it'd be nice if dog could see, you know, inside the office within Gemini. And nobody really caught this until somebody in the comments did point it out. And so this is what I want to share with you. I said, oh my God, I did not see this dog go to Gemini. So this is the specific image. As you can see, when we zoom in, it says top secret. By the way, secret is misspelled wrong, by the way. Top secret listings. So interesting. We have a dog plushie. We have the icon of a folder specifically positioned right above the head of dog. Well, this to me looks like a dog spot listing. So I asked everybody, who do you think is going to list dog on their exchange next? Is it going to be Gemini or Coinbase? Roughly 475 votes have been casted, but 64% fell in favor of Gemini. This is very different from a last poll I did where many of you thought Coinbase was going to list dog next. Now it's Gemini. So now with all that out, what do you think is going to happen? Now, when we look into the charting of dog, as you can see, the MACD, even though we're seeing a lot of selling pressure, the MACD is still increasing, looking like it wants to step into the buyer's market. Now, this pattern could break at any time. I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to happen. But the fact is, ever since of August of this year, even though we're seeing the dog price go down, you're seeing the sellers market getting weaker and weaker, meaning there's not that many sellers anymore, meaning the sellers are getting weaker and weaker, and eventually the buyers will come back and will flip into the buyer's market. And we've only seen that a handful of times where when the dog gets into the buyer's market, like right over here, you saw it reflective in the price of dog. The same thing happened over here, right up here, and right over here, right up here. So it's very much a similar pattern where when we cross that, it's absolutely very bullish. But we did see some rejection. Say, for instance, we saw one right over here, a rejection, and then we fell right back down, only to see ourselves going right back up again. So we'll see how this goes. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know I'm very bullish on dog Bitcoin. I wanted to share with you my different opinions about dog being on Gemini, because what I'm seeing with Gemini interacting with dog right now is exactly what we saw months prior to Kraken. Remember Kraken, people were pretty upset, like, oh, Kraken's just engagement farming and they're just trying to steal the engagement from the dog army. They're not going to list dog. When in fact, not only did they list dog, but they advocated, did marketing for dog. I did interviews with their CEO and also the VP of growth, and all of a sudden they created Bitcoin meme coin bundles and brought in other Bitcoin meme coins. I mean, guys, that was just the start. And then we got featured on the F1 car after we placed P2 in that position for the Williams racing car. So right now you're seeing the exact same thing where Gemini is engaging with dog. People are speculating, are they engagement farming? And really, we're just getting to this point where like they're giving all the hints right now, and it's really just a matter of time. So the question is, will this happen before the end of November, or will this happen in the beginning of December? I don't exactly know, but now you have all the data and proof to share with you that dog looks like it's going to be set up to be listed on Gemini, in my personal opinion. But I do want to hear your thoughts down below, and also what your thoughts on the macro market data that I've shared with you. So until then, I'll obviously create another video by tomorrow, and I'll share with you any updates. So please, by supporting the channel, which I really appreciate, is smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us on X to receive all of our alpha calls and updates regarding Dog on the Moon. Till then, see you guys girls next time.